A Metropolitan Police transgender paedophile volunteer officer, Gwyn Samuels, exploited a youngster after encountering her online and stated that she enjoyed being raped during the sexual assault, a court was informed. Prosecutors stated that the 27-year-old, formerly called James Bubb but now identifying as Gwyn Samuels, allegedly solicited a 12-year-old victim to engage in a sexual act in public. The court was informed that the defendant was subsequently compelled to hastily adjust their trousers after a dog walker passed by while the purported victim engaged in the sexual conduct. The purported victim stated to the police that she was unaware at the time that she was being groomed, according to prosecutor Richard Milne. The initial purported victim claims that at the age of 13, she encountered the defendant, who thereafter violated her virginity and asphyxiated her to prevent her from screaming out. Mr. Milne informed the court that the defendant and the purported victims would be identified by their biological sex during the trial when addressing the claims. The Amersham law courts were informed that the defendant encountered the first alleged victim, a 12-year-old, in person at a Christian festival where he was employed as a steward, and claimed they were in a relationship, notwithstanding her carrying a bracelet pass indicating her status as a minor. In his opening statement to the jury on Monday, Mr. Milne asserted that the initial purported victim encountered the defendant on a platform named Omegle. The court was informed that their interactions turned sexual approximately 1 month after their initial online connection, with the purported victim characterizing their relationship as a trauma bond. The court heard that the defendant engaged in sexual intercourse with the first claimed victim multiple times after taking her virginity. Mr. Milne said he would tell the first alleged victim that they enjoyed being raped, to which they replied no. The Crown says this defendant befriended and sexually assaulted the first complainant just before her 13th birthday. He added that the defendant had sexual encounters with her when she was 13 to 15 years old, and then, after a gap, the prosecution says the defendant raped her when she was about 18 years of age. The defendant was arrested on April 30, 2024. Their flat was searched and officers described it as extremely messy and dirty. The defendant told police in a prepared statement when being interviewed that he'd never had any non-consensual sex or act with the first complainant, then made no comment to questions, the prosecution said. The prosecution informed the court that the probable defenses will assert that no sexual activity occurred concerning the complainant when she was underage, and regarding the allegations alleged to have transpired when the complainant was over 16, that the sexual encounter was consensual. The second complainant encountered the defendant on Omegle at the age of 18, as presented in court. She said she and the defendant were reenacting a rape and explained she would say no or stop and that was the signal. Mr. Milne said, even though they were reenacting a rape, it meant James needed to stop. During the course of sexual intercourse she said she had said no and stop and he had simply carried on. The defendant used officer training techniques on the complainant, she said in her statement. Mr. Milne said, he'd perform these on her without seeking her permission. When she was in these holds he'd start touching her sexually. The defendant has denied 1 count of rape in relation to 1 complainant, and 2 counts of rape, 2 counts of sexual activity with a child, 1 count of assault of a child under 13 by penetration, 1 count of rape of a child under 13 and 1 count of assault by penetration in relation to the other complainant. All charges are alleged to have taken place between January 1, 2018 to April 2, 2024. The defendant, of High Street, Chesham, Buckinghamshire, denies all charges. The trial continues.